Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.blogspot.com and to the YouTube page of BYoung Ministry. Today we continue in John chapter 3. Today we're considering verses 19 through 21, which reads, "This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God." John chapter 3, verses 19 through 21. Imagine with me. We have been brought into the courtroom, and all of mankind has been found to be guilty of sin. This sin is the choice to be defined by something other than truth. The choice to be defined by lies. This is not imaginary, it's reality. In Isaiah 3, verse 13, we are told, "The Lord takes his place in court. He rises to judge the people." Since the fall, this has been mankind's problem. This idea that we know better than God. And our default mode will always be, when apart from God, that of the evil one. That's why the Lord Jesus is so harsh in this passage. We're evil. And the slightest departure from God's definition of things, God deems as evil. And he's right. This is also the theme of Romans chapter 3. It is not that God hasn't waded in on our condition. No. The apostle informs us in verse 19, light has come into the world. The wherewithal to recognize the difference between what is true and what is a lie has been granted through the Lord Jesus. The question is, are we willing to see through our admission of guilt? You see, until we come to the place where we admit that, you know what, our way doesn't cut it, something's wrong with it, we won't see the light. But the moment we do that, and we invite the light in, changes our whole perspective. We have all known people who've gone from the darkness to the light, and we've wondered, what in the world happened? In my life, it was a guy by the name of Joey Trawick. I saw the guy change 180. And granted, he's not perfect. And there are times when even as believers, we wander. We wander away from the truth. The question is, are we willing to see through our admission of guilt? On the other hand, we trust what we know. This explains why someone would return to an abusive spouse. It explains why someone would choose homelessness over a permanent roof over their heads. It explains why the way of the evil one is embraced over the love of the Creator. We choose what we trust. And due to our ignorance, most have chosen the darkness over the light. I hate to admit it, but even as a believer in the Lord Jesus, I have been known to choose the darkness over the light. In verse 19, we read, "People loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil." Nobody wants to admit he is wrong. This is why it's so hard for us to turn to the Lord. You remember those days when we held tightly to our sin, thinking it was good for us. It took brokenness for me to be convinced that my sin was not good for me. Notice in verse 21, a contrast is given. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. If we are willing to admit we are wrong, we will find ourselves being drawn to the Lord Jesus, for he is the light. The light exposes. The light exposes that which is darkness. I was fortunate to have people around me in my early years of my faith who shared the light of the gospel with me. Yet I automatically knew of this light. I believe we're all born with this capacity to know what we have known isn't consistent enough to be reality. Can I say that again? That's quite a bit. I believe we are all born with this capacity to know what we have known isn't consistent with reality. It gnaws at us. It gnawed at me. Therefore, at some point, we begin to seek. We begin to seek the light. The choice to ultimately trust in Christ starts with a conviction deep within ourselves that we don't like the way we are, or we do not like the way we're living. We want to be different. We may not be all that aware of how deep and destructive this conviction is, but it gnaws at us with each passing day. If we will begin to do something to pursue truth at whatever level we find it, we will discover ourselves being drawn by the Lord Jesus. This was Nicodemus' story. It's my story too. Hebrews 11:6 says, "Whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him." This verse does not say a word about believing in Jesus or being born again. This verse, Hebrews 11:6, takes us right where we are in life and says that if deep in our hearts there's a hunger for something more, if we would like to be freed from the anguish and shame of what we know to be wrong, and we begin to pursue that, we will be drawn to the Lord Jesus. When we learn of the Lord Jesus, we will be open to receive him. And the sensation of God drawing us is this desire within us to want to be set free from what we innately know is wrong. In our text, the Lord Jesus is talking about this Pharisee, Nicodemus, talking with this Pharisee, who prided himself on his sincere and serious efforts to please God, to obey him with precise execution. That was not my story. And yet, there are some similarities. He believed that he had to earn his salvation through good works and diligence in keeping the law. Nicodemus knew in his heart that his theology just didn't cut it. That's why he came to the Lord Jesus, where he would have a one-on-one time with him at night. To this man, the Lord Jesus says, "You love darkness." And with the hardness of these words, the Lord Jesus begins to draw Nicodemus to place his faith in him. Then the Lord Jesus says, "But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God." This audience of one is really the bottom line at the end of the day. Who I am in relationship to God is the real question. And Nicodemus knew this. All mankind knows this. They might not be able to put it into words, but they know it in their hearts. And this explains why we have made the effort to seek beyond us. But the road that connects us to God runs from God to us, not from us to God. We do not journey through the cross to find God. Instead, God has made the trek through the cross to find us. Our role is to receive this free gift that He offers. We have a choice between achieving a life or receiving it. If we make it achieving, our constant companion will be complaint, because we will never achieve enough. If we make our goal receiving, our constant companion will be gratitude for all that God is achieving in our lives. And gratitude is the prescription to growing more deeply in our relationship with God. My friends, if I can be of further assistance to you, feel free to shoot me an email at BYoungMinistry@gmail.com.